Don't ignore this psalm, not because something dramatic is about to happen, not because everything will suddenly make sense, but because you might be carrying a weight you can't name, and this psalm speaks directly to that place. Some weights don't arrive with explanations. They don't come from one clear event. They don't have a beginning you can point to. You just wake up tired. Your body feels heavy. Your thoughts feel slow. Your heart feels sore, but you don't know why. You're not in danger. Nothing is technically wrong, and yet something feels deeply off. This psalm is for that. This psalm is for the weight you can't name. There are moments when anxiety doesn't scream. It whispers. It settles into the muscles, into the chest, into the breath. You try to explain it logically. You tell yourself to be grateful. You remind yourself that others have it worse. But the weight remains. Psalm 6 was written from that exact place. Not from clarity, not from victory, but from a body and soul that are exhausted at the same time. David doesn't describe a single enemy. He doesn't explain a specific threat. Instead, he describes something far more familiar to modern life, a distress that lives inside the body, a sorrow that refuses to be neatly categorized, a pain that feels both emotional and physical. This psalm understands what it's like when your bones feel troubled, when your soul feels deeply shaken, when even rest doesn't seem to restore you. If you've been feeling a weight you can't name, this psalm is not here to fix you. It's here to sit with you. Take a breath now. Not a deep one, just a gentle one. You don't need to prepare yourself. You don't need to feel spiritual. You don't need to have the right words. This psalm was written for moments when words fail. Before we read it, notice something important. Psalm 6 does not rush toward hope. It does not jump to reassurance. It allows the pain to speak first. That matters because many people feel guilty for their exhaustion. They feel ashamed of their sadness. They believe faith should make them stronger than this. But Psalm 6 says otherwise. It says that God listens even when strength is gone, even when tears come at night, even when the body itself feels overwhelmed. This psalm is honest about the cost of carrying too much for too long. It names the reality of emotional pain without dressing it up. It allows grief to exist without apology. If you've been functioning but not resting, if you've been smiling but feeling hollow, if you've been praying but feeling unheard, this psalm is for you. This psalm is for the weight you can't name. As we move into the reading, let the pace slow down. Let each line breathe. You don't need to analyze it. You don't need to interpret it. Just listen as someone who is tired, listening to words written by someone who is also tired. Psalm 6 begins like this. O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, nor discipline me in your wrath. This is not a confident prayer. It's a fragile one. It assumes vulnerability. It assumes weakness. It assumes the speaker feels exposed. Many people today carry an unspoken fear that their pain is a failure, that their exhaustion means they've disappointed God. Psalm 6 gently brings that fear into the open. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am languishing. Languishing is not despair. It's not collapse. It's the quiet space between functioning and falling apart. It's waking up without energy. It's carrying heaviness without a reason. It's being present, but barely. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are troubled. Notice this. The pain is not abstract. It lives in the body. This psalm understands that emotional distress doesn't stay in the mind. It settles into shoulders, into stomachs, into sleep. If your body has been holding stress it can't release, this psalm knows that language. My soul also is greatly troubled, but you, O Lord, how long? This question is not rebellious. It's exhausted. How long is the question of someone who has waited quietly for too long, someone who has endured without answers, someone who doesn't know how to keep going, but keeps going anyway. This is where many people live today, and this is why this psalm still speaks. This psalm is not rushed. It does not force resolution. It allows the weight to be acknowledged fully. Stay here for a moment. You are not behind. You are not weak. You are not failing. You are human, and this psalm understands that. There's a kind of weight that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive as panic. It doesn't explode into fear. It settles. It lives in the shoulders that never relax, in the jaw that stays tight, in the chest that feels full but not with breath. This is the weight you can't name. You can function with it. You can answer messages. You can complete tasks. You can even pray. But everything costs more energy than it should. Psalm 6 understands this kind of exhaustion. This is not the exhaustion of a single bad day. It's the tiredness that comes from carrying something quietly for too long. When David says, I am languishing, he is not describing defeat. He is describing depletion. Languishing is what happens when the soul keeps showing up, even when it's empty. Many people today live in that space. They are not falling apart. They are not breaking down. They are simply worn thin. They wake up already tired. They lie down already anxious. Sleep comes, but rest doesn't. If this feels familiar, this psalm is not judging you. This psalm is recognizing you. When scripture says, my bones are troubled, it's acknowledging something modern language often misses. Emotional pain embeds itself physically. Stress does not stay abstract. Unspoken grief does not stay invisible. Unprocessed fear does not stay silent. It moves into the body, into breathing patterns, into digestion, into sleep cycles. That is why the weight you can't name feels so confusing. You look for a thought to fix, but the pain isn't just a thought. It's a condition of being overwhelmed for too long. Psalm 6 does not ask David to explain this pain. It does not demand a cause. It does not require a solution. It simply allows the truth to exist. My soul also is greatly troubled. This line matters because many people minimize their inner distress by saying, it's not that bad. I shouldn't feel this way. I have no reason to be so tired. Psalm 6 removes that pressure. It validates the experience without forcing justification. If your soul feels troubled, then it is troubled. That is enough to be seen. And then comes the question, but you, O Lord, how long? This question is not impatience. It is endurance speaking. How long is what people whisper when they have already waited longer than they thought they could. It is the language of quiet suffering, the language of those who keep going without relief. If you ever ask this without words, this psalm is already praying for you. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it does not rush you toward hope. It stays with you in the discomfort. That is rare. Most messages want to resolve pain quickly. They want to turn faith into a formula. They want reassurance before acknowledgement. Psalm 6 does the opposite. It honors the reality first. Notice how much space Scripture gives to distress here. There is no correction, no instruction, no spiritual bypass, just presence. This is important for modern anxiety, because anxiety often comes from pressure, even spiritual pressure. Pressure to be okay, pressure to feel peace, pressure to trust harder. But Psalm 6 offers something gentler. It offers permission to be honest. Honest about how long it's been. Honest about how heavy it feels. Honest about how tired you are. If you've been carrying a weight you can't name, you don't need stronger faith. You need space to breathe. And that is exactly what this psalm creates. As we continue, allow yourself to stop trying to solve the feeling. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to define it. Just let it exist without resistance. The psalm does not demand clarity before compassion. It trusts that God can meet us even when we don't have words, especially then. This is why Psalm 6 still speaks to modern life, because it knows the cost of living under constant pressure, because it understands the toll of emotional labor, because it recognizes a fatigue that comes from being strong too long. This psalm is not dramatic. It is quiet, and quiet is often where the deepest healing begins. Stay here. Let the words slow you down. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, and it is not asking you to carry it alone. Most people don't talk about the kind of exhaustion Psalm 6 describes, because it doesn't fit into a clean story. It's not burnout with a deadline. It's not grief with a clear loss. It's not fear tied to a single threat. It's a weight you can't name. And modern life produces this weight constantly. The pressure to be available, the pressure to respond, the pressure to stay informed, the pressure to appear okay. Even faith can quietly become another place of pressure, to pray the right way, to feel peace on command, to trust without wavering. Psalm 6 interrupts that. It shows us that faith does not begin with strength. It begins with honesty. In modern terms, Psalm 6 sounds like this. My body is tired, and I don't know why. My mind won't rest, even when I stop. My nights are heavier than my days. My prayers feel thin. This psalm gives permission to bring that state directly to God without editing it. If your anxiety doesn't come with panic attacks, but with constant tension, if your sadness doesn't come with tears in public, but with emptiness in private, if your faith hasn't disappeared, but feels quieter than it used to, Psalm 6 is speaking to you. This psalm reminds us that God does not only meet us in breakthroughs, He meets us in languishing. He meets us when the body feels overwhelmed, when sleep feels fragile, when mornings feel heavy. One of the most important things Psalm 6 teaches modern readers is this. You are allowed to stop explaining your pain. You don't need to justify it with logic. You don't need to compare it to others. You don't need to minimize it to be faithful. If the weight is real to you, it is real enough to bring to God. This psalm also reframes prayer. Prayer is not a performance of confidence. It is an act of exposure. David does not say, I believe harder. He says, I am weary. That is still prayer. In a culture obsessed with productivity, Psalm 6 offers something countercultural. Rest without resolution. It does not demand immediate healing. It does not rush emotional recovery. It does not force gratitude on top of grief. It allows the process to unfold slowly. This matters deeply for anxiety, because anxiety often intensifies when we try to force peace. Psalm 6 does not force peace. It creates space. Space for tears. Space for questions. Space for tired faith. If you've been carrying a weight you can't name, This psalm invites you to stop fighting the feeling, not to give up, but to stop resisting what already exists. Sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is admit that you are not okay yet. This psalm also speaks to nights. Modern nights are loud with thoughts, screens, news, unfinished conversations. Psalm 6 was written in the night, in tears, in repetition, in exhaustion. It tells us that night prayer does not have to be eloquent. It can be repetitive. It can be wordless. It can be heavy. God hears it anyway. This is why this psalm is for the weight you can't name is not just a title. It is a reality. Because many people today are not in crisis. They are in quiet overload. And Psalm 6 meets that exactly. It does not promise instant relief. It promises presence. It does not remove the weight immediately. It shares it. As we move forward, notice how the psalm does something subtle. It shifts from being alone in pain to being seen in pain. That shift changes everything. Even before circumstances change, being seen changes how the weight feels. Stay here. Let this truth settle. You don't need to be strong to be faithful. You don't need clarity to be heard. You don't need to name the weight for God to carry it with you. This psalm is for the weight you can't name. And you were never meant to carry it alone. There's a weight that doesn't leave when you try to rest. You lie down. You close your eyes. You breathe slowly. And still it's there. Not loud, not sharp, just present. This psalm does not tell you that the weight will disappear tonight. It tells you that you don't have to disappear under it. This psalm is for the weight you can't name because it understands endurance, not the heroic kind, the quiet kind, the kind that wakes up tired and keeps going anyway, the kind that prays without energy, but still prays. Psalm 6 returns to the same feelings again and again, weary, troubled, waiting. This repetition is not weakness. It is honesty, because some seasons do not resolve quickly. Some prayers are not answered immediately. Some healing is not linear. This psalm gives permission to return to the same place without shame. If tonight feels like last night, this psalm still belongs to you. If your body still feels heavy, this psalm is still for you. If the weight still has no name, this psalm still speaks. Notice how Psalm 6 does not rush forward. It circles. It stays with the feeling until something shifts quietly inside, not circumstances. Awareness. The awareness that you are not alone in this. The awareness that God hears even repetitive prayers, even tired prayers, even silent ones. This psalm is for the weight you can't name. Let that line repeat gently. You don't need to grasp it. You don't need to feel it strongly. Just let it exist in the background, like a steady breath. This is why repetition heals. It calms the nervous system. It reassures the body. It tells the soul, you are safe enough to stay. Many people try to escape this feeling. They distract themselves. They push harder. They spiritualize their pain away. Psalm 6 does none of that. It remains present. It teaches us that healing often begins, not when the weight leaves, but when resistance does, when the body stops bracing, when the soul stops explaining. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it does not demand progress. It offers permission. Permission to rest without answers. Permission to believe without certainty. Permission to wait without guilt. If your faith feels quieter lately, that does not mean it is weaker. Quiet faith often runs deeper. It is the faith that stays. When emotions fade, when energy runs out, when words fail, Psalm 6 honors that kind of faith. It does not praise strength. It praises honesty. It does not reward endurance with instant relief. It rewards it with presence. The Lord has heard the sound of my weeping, not the sound of confidence, not the sound of certainty, the sound of weeping. This means something important for you tonight. You do not need to sound okay for God to hear you. If all you can offer is quiet heaviness, that is still prayer. This loop exists because the weight often returns. And when it does, you don't need a new message. You need the same truth, repeated gently. You are not alone in this. You are not failing. You are not unseen. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, and it will still be for you tomorrow. If the weight is still there, let the words slow you again. Let the repetition soothe you. Let the silence hold what you cannot carry. You don't need to move forward right now. You can stay here. This psalm stays with you. There's a moment in Psalm 6 that often goes unnoticed. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It does not come with a sign. It is simply stated. The Lord has heard the sound of my weeping. Not will hear, not might hear, has heard before anything changes, before the night ends, before the weight lifts. God hears first. This matters more than we realize, because many people believe God's response must be visible to be real. They look for change before believing they were heard. Psalm 6 reverses that order. Being heard comes before relief. And sometimes being heard is a relief. In modern life, silence often feels like absence. If nothing happens quickly, we assume nothing is happening at all. But Scripture treats silence differently. Silence is not neglect. Silence is not distance. Often, silence is attention. When someone listens deeply, they don't interrupt. They don't rush to fix. They stay. This is the posture of God in Psalm 6. He does not correct David's emotions. He does not explain the delay. He does not demand composure. He listens. If you have been praying and hearing nothing back, this psalm offers a reframe. God may already be responding, just not in noise. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because unnamed pain often requires quiet care. Loud answers would overwhelm it. Immediate solutions would bypass it. Instead, God meets the pain where it is, in the body, in the tears, in the waiting. The Lord accepts my prayer. Acceptance is different from resolution. Acceptance means a prayer was enough as it was. Not refined, not confident, not hopeful, just honest. This speaks directly to tired faith. Faith that no longer performs. Faith that no longer explains itself. Faith that simply shows up and says, "This is what I have." Psalm 6 tells us that is enough. If you are waiting for God to speak loudly, consider that He may already be speaking quietly, through steadiness instead of excitement, through presence instead of answers, through endurance instead of escape. Sometimes the sign that God has heard you is not that the weight disappears. It is that you are still here, still breathing, still praying, still held. That continuation is not accidental. Psalm 6 moves from despair to calm without spectacle. There is no miracle scene, no sudden joy, just a subtle shift, a knowing the Lord has heard. That knowledge changes how the weight is carried. Not lighter, but shared. This is how mature faith looks. It does not demand reassurance every moment. It learns to live inside unanswered prayer, without assuming abandonment. If your faith feels quieter now than it used to, That may not be loss. It may be depth, faith that has learned to wait, without panic, without theatrics, without pretending. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it understands that some burdens are only survivable when they are carried slowly. God does not rush you out of this season. He sits with you in it, and that presence changes things, even when nothing else does. Stay with this truth. Silence does not mean God is gone. Waiting does not mean God is late. Tears do not mean God is displeased. They mean you are being heard. And being heard is the beginning of everything that comes next. Hope doesn't always arrive the way people expect. Sometimes it doesn't feel like relief. Sometimes it doesn't feel like joy. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like confidence. Sometimes hope feels like staying. Psalm 6 does not end with celebration. It ends with steadiness. After the tears, after the questions, after the waiting, something changes quietly. Not the situation, not the night, the posture. The Lord has heard. That sentence does not erase the past verses. It sits beside them. This matters, because many people believe hope means pretending the weight is gone. Psalm 6 shows a different kind of hope. Hope that coexists with heaviness. Hope that does not deny pain. Hope that does not rush healing. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because unnamed burdens often require quiet hope. Hope that doesn't overwhelm the nervous system. Hope that doesn't demand emotional fireworks. Hope that feels safe. In modern life, people are exhausted by forced optimism. They don't need to be told everything will be okay. They need permission to survive today. Psalm 6 offers that. It does not say, tomorrow will be easier. It says, you are heard now. That is enough to keep going. If your hope feels small lately, that does not mean it is weak. Small hope fits inside tired bodies. Large declarations often don't. Quiet hope is the kind that endures. It is the hope that allows you to breathe a little slower, to unclench your jaw without realizing it, to feel slightly less alone. That is real hope. Psalm 6 teaches us that hope is not always a feeling. Sometimes it is a decision to stay present, to remain open, to keep praying without changing the words. If you have been returning to the same prayer night after night, this psalm does not see that as failure. It sees it as faith. Faith that refuses to disappear. Faith that waits without demanding proof. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it respects the pace of healing. Healing that unfolds gently. Healing that doesn't announce itself. Healing that starts internally. Notice how Psalm 6 does not rush toward the future. It stays grounded in now. That is intentional, because anxious minds live in tomorrow. Tired souls need now. This psalm anchors you in the present moment, not to trap you, but to stabilize you. When hope arrives quietly, it doesn't change everything at once. It changes how you carry what hasn't changed yet, and that makes all the difference. If tonight still feels heavy, hope does not require you to feel better. It only asks you to remain open, open to being heard, open to being held, open to continuing. This psalm does not promise that the weight will vanish. It promises that it will not have the final word. That is quiet hope. That is durable hope. That is hope that survives long nights. Stay here for a moment. Notice your breath. Notice your body. Nothing dramatic needs to happen. This psalm is for the weight you can't name. and hope is already present, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Some healing does not announce itself. It does not arrive as emotion. It does not arrive as clarity. It arrives as release. A shoulder drops slightly. The jaw loosens without permission. The breath deepens on its own. Psalm 6 understands this kind of restoration because the psalm never separated soul from body in the first place. My bones are troubled. My soul is greatly troubled. And now, without spectacle, something begins to settle. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because unnamed burdens often live in the body longer than the mind. You can understand your feelings and still feel tense. You can believe God hears you and still feel exhausted. Psalm 6 does not argue with that reality. It allows restoration to begin where the weight was stored. In modern life, we carry too much internally. We hold our breath through conversations. We tighten through responsibilities. We brace ourselves for what's next. Over time, the body forgets how to rest. Psalm 6 reintroduces safety, not by commanding it, but by modeling honesty. The body relaxes when it no longer has to pretend. If you have been holding yourself together for a long time, this psalm gives your body permission to stop bracing, even briefly, even imperfectly. Restoration does not mean the weight is gone. It means the body is no longer alone with it. That shift is powerful. When the psalm says, "The Lord has heard the sound of my weeping," it communicates safety. Being heard tells the nervous system, you can soften now. This is why prayer changes the body, even before circumstances change. Not because words are magical, but because presence calms. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it invites you to inhabit your body gently again, to notice sensation without fear, to feel tired without shame. This is how healing actually happens. Slowly, quietly, without pressure. You may not feel lighter, but you may feel less tense. That is progress. You may still be sad, but your breath may be steadier. That matters. Psalm 6 never demands that you feel peace. It allows peace to emerge naturally. If tonight your body feels a little less tight, receive that without questioning it. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to hold on to it. Just let it be. This psalm does not fix you. It supports you. It creates an environment where restoration can begin without forcing an outcome. This is especially important for those who have been strong too long. Strength often teaches the body to stay alert. Psalm 6 teaches it how to rest, even for a moment. If your body has been carrying the weight your mind couldn't name, this psalm sees that, and it responds with patience. Stay present. Notice where you are sitting. Notice the contact points. Nothing else is required. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, and restoration has already begun, even if it feels subtle. Now we return, not to the beginning, but to the awareness we didn't have before. At the start, we named something carefully, a weight you can't name, not because it isn't real, but because it doesn't fit into words. And now, after sitting with Psalm 6, that weight may still be here, but it is not the same. It has been seen. It has been heard. It has been shared. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it doesn't require resolution to offer relief. You don't need a breakthrough for something to shift. You don't need clarity for something to soften. Sometimes all that changes is how alone you feel inside the weight. That is enough. Psalm 6 does not close with an ending. It closes with presence, with the quiet confidence of being heard. Not confident in outcomes, confident in connection. This is the difference between isolation and endurance. Before, the weight sat only in you. Now, it sits in the presence of God. That changes how it feels, even if it doesn't change what it is. If you came here tired, you don't need to leave energized. If you came here anxious, you don't need to leave calm. You only need to leave less alone. This psalm does that. This psalm has always done that. That is why it still speaks. That is why it still holds space. For modern exhaustion, quiet anxiety, and faith that feels thin. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it respects your pace. It does not rush you forward. It does not demand transformation. It stays. If you listen to this again tomorrow, it will still be here. If the weight returns tonight, this psalm will still be for you. If nothing else changes, being heard remains. Let that truth repeat gently. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not unseen. This psalm does not judge your endurance. It honors it. As we begin to close, notice that nothing was forced. No emotional peak. No dramatic resolution. Just quiet companionship. That is intentional. Because real healing rarely announces itself. It accumulates slowly. Through moments like this. Moments where you were allowed to be honest without fixing yourself. Moments where faith was quiet, but still present. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, and it will remain so as long as the weight exists. You do not outgrow this psalm. You revisit it, and each time it meets you where you are. Stay with that. Let the spiral complete itself without snapping closed. You can rest here. If you're still here, there's a reason. Not because something extraordinary happened, but because something quiet held you. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, and you don't need to understand it to stay until now. Some messages are not meant to be consumed. They are meant to be kept. If this psalm stayed with you, it's because it touched something familiar, something you haven't been able to explain, and that matters. Before we close, let's stay in the quiet a little longer. No conclusions, no summaries, just presence. You don't need to respond out loud, but if you feel able, there is one small invitation. In the comments, you don't need to explain your story. You don't need to name the weight. You can simply write, "This stayed with me," or if you prefer, "I'm carrying something quiet." No one will ask for details. No one needs explanations. This space is not for fixing. It's for being seen. Many people listening to this are carrying something similar. Quiet recognition helps more than advice ever could. If you want to return to this psalm later, save it, not because you'll need it someday, but because the weight may return. And when it does, this psalm will still be here. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, not because it removes it, but because it stays with you inside it. You don't have to feel better now. You don't have to feel anything specific. Just know this. You were heard. You were not alone. And you don't have to carry this in silence. Let the last words be gentle. No urgency. No demand. just this reminder repeated once more. This psalm is for the weight you can't name that will be here when you return. And if you're here, it found you for a reason. Stay as long as you need. You don't have to leave yet. There is no ending here, only a soft place to remain. Some messages are not meant to close. They are meant to return. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because that weight doesn't follow schedules. It comes and goes. It fades and returns. It changes shape. And when it does, this psalm still fits. Nothing new needs to be said now. The quiet itself is enough. If your mind is still moving, let it move. If your thoughts are slowing, let them slow. There is no correct response. Psalm 6 does not demand attention. It allows drifting. This is why it works in the night, when the world goes quiet and the weight becomes louder, when distractions fall away, and the body finally notices how tired it is. This psalm does not compete with that moment. It accompanies it. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, because it does not insist on meaning. It does not ask, why are you like this? It does not ask, what will you do next? It simply stays. If you find yourself listening again, that is not weakness. That is instinct. The instinct to return to something that did not pressure you, something that did not rush you, something that did not ask for improvement. This psalm does not try to lift you. It sits beside you, and that is often what the soul needs most. There is nothing to remember from this, nothing to apply, nothing to decide, just the quiet knowledge that you were not alone for these moments, and you are not alone now. If sleep comes, let it come. If it doesn't, that's okay too. This psalm was written for long nights, for repeated prayers, for familiar heaviness, for the kind of faith that survives without answers. This psalm is for the weight you can't name, and it will still be for you if you return tomorrow, or next week, or months from now. It will not change, and you don't have to either. Stay here or go. Either way, this psalm remains.